we live in the hub of everything.
Yeah.
Right here, and yet we don't have to live in it. We can be 20 minutes from the
Green
lake.
Yeah.
We can be 20 minutes from Lucan, from London, from Stratford. We're not very far to go if you want to go to the theater. So we're so close to so many amenities. And I heard you talk about the hospitals as well. We're very fortunate to what we have for that. The people that are here, and I think Brandon touched on the volunteerism and things like that. And I think what's really important as we grow that we make sure that new people come in, become a part of the community.
I'm sure whatever you're doing was for the right reasons.
I was just listening to what Brandon and you were talking about, and Brandon covered it pretty well.
Yeah.
Great job. Yeah, he's one of the young employees that we have that know the community, get it.
Yeah.
They get it, right? They get what's happening.
Well, you could see at the beginning when he talked about the relationships he's had for 27 years with all of the people in the community. Those stories to me are everything, right? Because those relationships are what I think I would look for if I was coming into the community on, how to play ball in the community and where the opportunities are. Even like if I'm feeling insecure about where I'm going to bring my kids and what it's going to be like and everything, a lot of times people like that make it a lot more welcoming. Why don't you introduce yourself, give a bit of your background and your role?
Okay, so my name is Brian Ropp, and the reason I'm a little extra busy this year, besides being mayor, I'm the county warden this year, which makes it a pretty busy schedule. Sometimes meetings come up at the last minute. But so my past history, before I was ever doing this, I was farm raised. And I spent 26 years as general manager in manufacturing. And so it gives you a different insight. But it was local. It was in Strathroy. And a lot of my staff, my long-term staff, came up from North Middlesex. It's just the way it happened to work out. And so it's a very close community. Like, I mean, if you look at Strathroy, even though they're not part of North Middlesex, it is part of the greater community.
For sure.
And we like to talk about, maybe you've already talked about this, that we live in the hub of everything.
Yeah.
Right here, and yet we don't have to live in it. We can be 20 minutes from the lake.
Yeah.
We can be 20 minutes from Lucan, from London, from Stratford. We're not very far to go if you want to go to the theater. So we're so close to so many amenities. And I heard you talk about the hospitals as well. We're very fortunate to what we have for that.
100%. I did a neighborhood tour video of Park Hill standing on the conservation area lake when it was frozen like 5 years ago. And friends that grew up here, spent a lot of time coming through Park Hill over the years. And in your brain, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to live all the way out in Park Hill. Like that's the initial kind of reaction. But then you realize once you're here, when we were sitting down with Brad and Linda and talking about this property and why they fell in love with it, when you open your eyes and you can go to Ipperwash, you can go to Grand Bend, you can go to Strathroy, you can hop over the border. Your access to the States is pretty fantastic. A super hack for anybody flying in North America, just go to Detroit. It's so much easier not having to clear customs. I think that's also why we're seeing the transition from a lifestyle perspective too, from your time in manufacturing to today. People's habits have changed, right? They can have some flexibility in where they live.
Yeah, completely. And as you say, a lot of work, you don't have to live in that community anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of work like that. But I think the other thing we get into is it's the people that are here. Yeah. And I think Brandon touched on the volunteerism and things like that. And I think what's really important as we grow that we make sure that new people come in, become a part of the community. Mm-hmm. And they choose to come as much as they want to,
sure,
or to be involved as much as they want. But we have to make sure we reach out so they have that opportunity. They know what's going on in our community because there is a lot going on and it is volunteer driven.
The fire station's absolutely beautiful. That was such a nice improvement as well too. The medical side of things, like things you wouldn't really know. What would you think the top 3 things people wouldn't know about North Middlesex or Park Hill would be?
That wouldn't know?
That your average person wouldn't know that was coming from a bigger city.
I think coming from bigger city, they wouldn't understand the lifestyle.
Yeah. Just
the getting to know people, the community that it is. I think that can be quite a shock for some people actually. When their neighbors knock on the door to welcome to the community, that's not something that happens.
They drop off a lasagna or whatever.
Right, yeah. Right. And I think, and when there's problems in your community.
For sure.
I think when there's a tragedy in your family or someone's sick, I think that's where small community really comes together, where the community really comes together, because it's so important. When everything's going fine and we're all busy living our life, you don't think about it too much. Mm-hmm. But when something happens in the community, I think that's where it really starts to shine.
Yeah, actually, when we had the first snowstorm of our 57 snowstorms in the last month, I drove through Park Hill, and there was about 4 different cars that were stuck, probably didn't have winter tires because we haven't needed them for 10 years. And every single car was being helped out by their neighbor, right? And I think that there's little things that you see when you're in communities or when you go to the grocery stores or the tellers, and rather than just being stuck in your phone, they actually are interested in what you're doing and saying hi and just building a relationship. I think that's one of my favorite things. And when we started taking road trips, we started driving everywhere to stop in small towns on purpose. And again, you notice a trend that we are more similar than we are different. Sure, some people have different ambitions and want to live in different places. That's fine. But I think the piece you're talking about is you guys are very community driven, right?
And I think that is our biggest asset, our best feature. It's our community. And if you want to do something on the weekend, you don't have to go far. Yeah. You just have to look a little differently. Like some of the things that are to do, we'll talk about is it's maple syrup season. So there's breakfasts on the weekends at our sugar shacks and stuff. And there's people from all over that come there. Like there's a lot of people come from London, a lot of people from Sarnia as well. And it just becomes a community atmosphere within that as well. So you can spend your whole morning having breakfast at a sugar shack, and that's just a unique experience.
What do you think? So let's flip to the locals. Locals get it. Funny, I lived in Montreal for a large portion of my life, and I almost didn't take advantage of what was around me when I was there because I was going to school, I was working, I was doing whatever. What do you think the locals forget that they have at their doorstep here locally?
Well, that's a great question because I think we take so much for granted. Yep. And I don't know if you have talked about it. There's an ice rink in Nairn. Mm-hmm. That's the Optimists do, and a lot of locals aren't aware of it. And their kids or their grandkids, they have that opportunity to go skate for free and just be part of the community. And I know they have Friday night skates, family skates, where it's free hot dogs and chili and that type of stuff. I think sometimes locals don't realize it, or the ones who are involved certainly do, but there's a lot of people miss those type of events, as well as the trails and just different things you can do, the leisure activities.
Yeah, thinking about that too, like one of the biggest challenges I see for municipalities, people in our business, is cutting through the noise, getting the information out. Like you can send out all the email blasts you want. Good luck getting through people's inboxes these days. It usually comes word of mouth through a friend that's like, hey, why don't you come with me on this night? And then you build that habit of using what's around you, right?
I think if I can, I'll mention this week I was meeting with a delegation of 12 people from Cambodia. We could learn some things from them in the fact that they're how respectful they are to each other and to everybody around them, and just their different lifestyle. And also you learn what we have that we take for granted, that they work so hard just to get proper water, that isn't making you sick, that type of thing. And they wash in the same water that they drink. And they're really working on those type of things. I found that it just reminds you of what we have. And I think sometimes we're so busy talking about what we don't have.
For sure.
That we forget about what we do have. And I think the fact that there's so many people here today is evidence of what we have. So
I posted, I don't know, I was probably talking to myself, but I posted on Facebook last night. I don't meet any successful people that spend any time arguing with other people on Facebook. Right. And then I was like, talk to people, go take a walk. It's way more beautiful outside than you might think it is. To that point where I said they go for walks and they talk to actual human beings. The reason we do this is I can talk to you on the phone, through email, through social, however, but there's something that's lacking in the human connection. And I also think there's so much fear in the media about what's happening in the world. Really, if you step back and you look at North America as a whole, energy reserves, rule of law, we have food, and we have so much land. Like we do have so much to be grateful for that people would kill for in terms of an opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's just part of the fabric of the community. Yeah. And I just think that it's the people in the community. And that doesn't mean you're going to love everybody in any community, but the community as such. If you go to the restaurant and have breakfast or have lunch, you're going to end up in a conversation with people.
For sure.
And if you don't, it's your own choice that you decided not to do that. But certainly the opportunities are there.
Literally, this room is that. And I tell people all the time, talk to each other, make connections, like things will come of it that have nothing to do with us. And It's hard for me to say that if you don't know us. Again, I'm a real estate agent. You think I'm going to sell you something. I don't care. Like, our founding principles: do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Put others before yourself. Easy to put on a wall, hard to put into practice. But I do think that trying to be community driven and just getting back to the basics is where the world really, really needs to go. And I like that you're encouraging that from a standpoint of even looking at people from Cambodia and saying, what can we learn from them and bring into our community, right?
Well, and just the way the world is right now, especially in North America here,
Yep,
and the threats and all those perceived threats and everything. At some point, you have to unplug it, because if you can't do anything, but you got to unplug it. As you say, go out for a walk and just get away from it, because we can do what we can do, but the rest of it we have to move on. And I don't want that to interfere with our community. And and by the community, it's not just Park Hill.
Sure.
It is our greater community as we talk here.
Yep.
We do share a lot of services with our surrounding neighbors, and we have to look a little more regionally, I think.
I agree. And we look across Canada and even North America. I got lots of friends stateside that we try and learn from to bring their ideas back here too. Because again, they're human beings just like us. And I think getting paralyzed by reading the news is why I made the post that I made last night. And I think if you really boil it down to, like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? The one thing we could work on, I think, as a community in North America is, I think we're a little bit too focused on being success driven, as if making money defines your success. I completely disagree. I've met lots of rich people that aren't successful or wealthy because nobody loves, respects them, or wants to be around them. And I've met lots of people who aren't rich that are incredibly wealthy and have great relationships and are the core members of your community. And I feel like we're regressing back to that after 20 years of like economic booms, to realizing that like the value of the human being and how you can contribute beyond financially is inherently very, very valuable.
I think it depends on what you define yourself as being successful or not.
Sure.
I think it's what is successful. And if everybody's a millionaire, no one's a millionaire. So I think success really, how have you accomplished? If you look back at, and I look at a lot of the things that I feel I'm doing now, and this is what keeps me going, is it's not for me, it's not for my generation, it is for my children, grandchildren, and all of the children and grandchildren that we all have here. That's what keeps you going. To me, that's what keeps me going. And I consider that then successful.
Legacy, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I kind of said what I said. We could probably do a whole other podcast on how to do that in politics, but we'll land the plane on this for now. I definitely appreciate you making the time. I definitely want everybody here to take time and introduce yourself. And hi. We're going to grab some food, and then we'll do the last session with Brooke Hicks. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming.